Under the yellow glow of the streetlights, a Filipino man in a bright janitor's jumpsuit pushed a mop bucket across the wet alley, flinching as red and blue lights flashed off the puddles around him. Two cops stepped in front of his path, hands on their belts, closing in like he was the one who'd set off every siren in the neighborhood. To the small crowd gathering at the mouth of the alley, it looked simple: police confronting a suspicious cleaner in the wrong place at the wrong time. None of them knew that the cleaner was the reason those buildings were still standing at all. His name was Ernie Salazar, 53, Filipino American. By day, he worked for the city as a building inspector. By night, on big projects or emergencies, he volunteered to do surprise safety audits, catching things owners tried to hide once the inspectors clocked out. He'd grown up poor in Manila, in a building that literally fell apart around his family when the landlord ignored every warning. After that, he'd promised himself that if he ever got the chance, he would be the person who caught the cracks before they became tragedies. Tonight's assignment was one of those jobs that looks simple on paper and messy in real life. A nightclub downtown had been flagged for possible fire code violations, locked exits, faulty sprinklers, rumors of cash-under-the-table renovations. Complaints had come in anonymously from workers who were scared of losing their jobs. The city knew that if the club saw a man in a blazer with a clipboard, they'd clean up just long enough to pass the inspection, then go right back to risking lives. So Ernie suggested something different. "I'll go in as a cleaner," he told his supervisor that afternoon. "They always ignore the janitors. I'll see what they really do after hours." The plan was simple. He'd arrived through the back alley wearing a yellow coverall borrowed from the city maintenance crew, mop bucket in tow. He'd marked down blocked exits, broken alarms, overloaded power strips. Then, after he'd seen enough, he'd call the official inspection team waiting a few blocks away. What he didn't plan for was the fight that broke out in front of the club just as he finished his walkthrough. He'd been in the basement, pretending to mop near the storage room, while actually snapping photos of an exit door chained shut from the inside. Upstairs, the music was deafening. Downstairs, it was just the low thump of bass and the hiss of a leaky pipe. He'd slipped out the back exit into the alley, heart heavy with what he'd seen. One spark in that basement and people would be trapped. He was just pulling out his phone to call it in when he heard shouting at the front of the building. Angry voices, the screech of tires, then the shattering sound of a bottle breaking. Someone screamed. The music cut off. A minute later, sirens wailed closer and closer, echoing between the brick walls. Ernie's stomach clenched. The last thing he needed was attention on him before he could contact the city team. But he couldn't just leave either. If there was a fire, those chained exits? He pushed his mop bucket toward the street, trying to look like any other night shift cleaner just doing his job. That was when the patrol car skidded to a stop at the mouth of the alley. Two officers jumped out. One was tall and broad, mid-30s, name tag reading O'Keefe. The other was younger, jaw tight, flashlight already out. They scanned the alley, saw a Filipino man in a yellow jumpsuit near the club's back door, and locked on. "You," O'Keefe shouted, marching forward. "Stop right there, hands where I can see them." Ernie froze, hands tightening on the mop handle. "Sir, I just—" "Drop whatever's in your hands," the younger cop cut in, pointing the flashlight straight at his face. "Now." Ernie blinked against the glare. Slowly, he let the mop handle slip from his fingers. It clattered against the side of the bucket, sending a wave of dirty water sloshing onto the wet asphalt. "I work here," he said, voice calm but shaking at the edges. "I'm just cleaning." "Yeah?" O'Keefe said, closing the distance. "Funny manager says he doesn't have any cleaners scheduled at this hour, so why are you sneaking around the back door?" Before we continue the story, let me know what country you're watching from. Hit the like button if you love this story, and please subscribe if you are new to my channel. Let's continue.
Ernie's mind raced. Of course the manager would say that. The club didn't know he was here as an inspector. He'd come in through the kitchen, shown a forged maintenance ticket approved by the city, and been waved through by a bartender unimpressed by his presence. "I'm with the city," Ernie said carefully. "Maintenance. They call me to check a leak. O'Keefe laughed once, disbelieving. City maintenance in the middle of the night at a club with an open investigation? He said. You really think that's gonna fly? The younger cop circled him, eyeing the yellow jumpsuit. You got ID? He demanded. Yes, Ernie said carefully. In my pocket, back left. He lifted his hand slightly. May I get it? Keep your hands where I can see them, O'Keefe snapped. He stepped in, patting Ernie's chest with a little more force than necessary. We'll get it. You just stand there. People had started to drift toward the alley entrance. Club patrons, curious neighbors. Someone had their phone raised, recording. Ernie could feel every eye on him, could feel the weight of how this looked. Brown man in a janitor suit, cops surrounding him on a wet, dark street. I didn't do anything, he said quietly. I'm just trying to do my job. Your job? What, casing the place? Manager says somebody might have slipped out the back after the fight. You just happened to be here, alone, with a way into the building. He pulled a laminated card from Ernie's pocket and held it up. What do we have here? Ernesto Salazar, City of Fairview, Maintenance Division. He frowned. Maintenance, not inspector. Ernie's heart dropped. In order to blend in, his supervisor had authorized him to carry a maintenance ID instead of his inspector badge. It gave him access to service corridors, but didn't show his full title. That's my cover assignment, Ernie said. I'm actually... Cover assignment, the younger cop repeated. You really are something. You expecting us to believe you're some kind of undercover hero? A few people in the crowd snickered. Ernie's face burned. I'm not a hero, Ernie said. I'm an inspector. There are chained exits in that basement. If there's a fire, people could die. Please, we need to... Enough, O'Keefe snapped, stepping closer. He clapped a heavy hand on Ernie's shoulder, squeezing hard enough to hurt. Here's what I think. You're trying to sound important so we don't look too closely at what you were really doing back there. Until we sort this out, you're detained. Turn around. Ernie's breath hitched. Sir, please, I have credentials in my truck. I parked by the loading dock. You can call the city. If they vouch for you, we'll hear about it. Right now, you're a suspect in a disturbance at a crime scene. Stop talking. The younger cop pulled out cuffs. Someone in the crowd gasped. A woman's voice called, "He just cleans. I've seen him here before." But it was lost in the chatter. Ernie felt his throat close. He'd spent his whole career trying to keep people safe, and now he was about to be paraded past them like a criminal. His eyes stung, but he blinked hard, refusing to cry. Then, from the mouth of the alley, another voice cut through the noise. "Officer O'Keefe!" It was sharp, authoritative, carrying even over the distant wail of another siren. Everyone turned. A woman in a dark coat strode into the alley, heels clicking on the wet ground. She held an umbrella in one hand and a folder in the other, but it was the badge clipped to her lapel that made the younger cop step back instinctively. She flipped it up with a practiced motion. "Linda Howard, Chief Building Official for the City of Fairview. And that man you're manhandling is my senior inspector." O'Keefe froze, one hand still on Ernie's shoulder. "Chief Howard?" he said, thrown off. "Ma'am, we were told there was a disturbance." "I'm aware," she said, her gaze icy. "I'm also aware that I have a voicemail from Inspector Salazar, time-stamped 8 minutes ago, reporting multiple life-threatening code violations at this location. He went silent mid-message. Imagine my surprise when I tracked his GPS to find him in handcuffs behind the building he was trying to protect." The younger cop shifted, cheeks reddening. Ernie let out a shaky breath he hadn't realized he'd been holding. "He said he was maintenance. His ID shows his maintenance cover assignment for night inspections, the program you were briefed on at last month's interagency training that you apparently didn't bother to attend."
A few people in the crowd murmured. One of the bystanders with a phone zoomed in, capturing the officer's stunned expression. Howard stepped closer to Ernie, her tone softening. "Mr. Salazar, are you hurt?" she asked. "Do you need medical help?" "I'm okay," he said, voice low. "Just not how I thought tonight would go." She nodded, then turned sharply back to the officers. "Take those cuffs off him," she ordered. "Now." The younger cop moved quickly, hands fumbling as he put the cuffs away. O'Keefe dropped his grip from Ernie's shoulder, stepping back. "I acted on the information I had, Chief. We had a report of a possible suspect. You acted on assumptions," Howard cut in. "He was standing alone in a jumpsuit with a mop, and instead of asking for clarification, you decided the man cleaning up the mess must be the one who made it." O'Keefe clenched his jaw. "With all due respect, ma'am, with all due respect," she said, matching his words but not his tone, "you nearly arrested the only person out here who was actually doing his job. While you were accusing my inspector of sneaking around, he was documenting chained exits that your department should have cited months ago. If a fire had started, you'd be the one explaining to the families why the guy who tried to fix it was sitting in the back of your car." The alley went quiet. The flashing lights played across faces, catching every wince, every nervous glance. Ernie shifted his grip on the mop handle, fingers still trembling. "Chief," he said quietly, "the basement exit by the storage room is chained. So is the side door near the kitchen. And the emergency lights, half of them are out if someone panics." "We're shutting them down tonight," Howard said without hesitation. She pulled a set of forms from her folder and handed them to Ernie. "You'll finalize the violation report. I'll sign the emergency closure order." She turned to the officers again. "You can make yourselves useful by helping us clear the building safely. And after that, Officer O'Keefe, you and I will be having a conversation with Internal Affairs about how you interact with city officials, especially when they don't look like you expect them to." O'Keefe's shoulders slumped. "Yes, ma'am," he said, the words heavy. The younger cop glanced at Ernie, shame written plainly across his face. I'm sorry, sir," he said. "I didn't listen to you." Ernie looked at him for a moment. He could see the fear behind the apology, fear of discipline, of being the next viral video. But he also saw something else, a young man realizing, maybe for the first time, that his badge didn't make him infallible. "I accept your apology," Ernie said quietly. "But next time you see someone who looks like me with a mop or a trash bag, remember we might be more than what you assume. We might be the ones trying to keep you out of a real mess." The younger cop nodded, swallowing hard. "Yes, sir," he said. Within half an hour, the club was being emptied under the dual authority of the police and the building department. Patrons grumbled, some cheered. A few patted Ernie's shoulder as they passed, recognizing him from seeing him quietly checking pipes and doors earlier in the night. "Thanks, Kuya," one young Filipino bartender whispered as she walked by. "They never listen to us when we say it's not safe." Ernie gave her a tired smile. "They're listening now," he said. The videos people had taken in the alley spread quickly. By morning, the local news would be running a story. Police detained city inspector mistaken for suspect. Comment sections would fill with arguments, some defending the cops, others pointing out how easily a Filipino man in a yellow jumpsuit had been treated like a threat. But for Ernie, the most important part wasn't the headlines. It was the signed closure order on his desk the next morning. The notice plastered on the club's doors, "Unsafe to occupy until further notice." He knew they'd fix the exits now. They'd fix the sprinklers. They'd fix the wiring they had hidden behind drywall. Because they'd been caught, not just by him, but in front of an entire city. And maybe, just maybe, the next time an officer saw a brown man pushing a mop bucket down a wet alley, he'd remember the night he almost cuffed the building inspector and think twice before deciding who was really making this place safer.
Thank you for watching to our Badge and Justice stories. If you want to watch more stories like this, click the videos above. See you again tomorrow.